Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tom Colohue channels, where we are going to be watching the entirety of Smackdown, a good old-fashioned 2-hour 1 AM show to enjoy on a Friday night, followed by the WWE Hall of Fame. Chances and plans are that we are just going to change the title to this show as we go along, because the Hall of Fame show starts right after. No point having two separate shows for it. We are opening Smackdown with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It has just been described by Michael Cole as prestigious. So prestigious that literally everyone in the ring has had the jobber's entrance, and there's a lot of people there. I see Shelton Benjamin, I see Commander Aziz, who definitely stands out. Tom might be tired already. Not a great start. And we are immediately going into a little vignette, just celebrating the fact that we have, in fact, an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Nice of them to at least make the attempt to make it interesting for us. I'm going to say hello to everyone. Hello Sean, who's already jumped in saying hello again Tom. Hello again Sean. And hello to Megan saying greetings everyone as well. I'd imagine people are going to slowly filter in over the course of the night. The watch parties, as usual, do have a very different sort of feeling than Spoiler Warning, which is at all times hectic and crazy and full, whereas the watch parties can be a little more chill, a little more reactive, and it's just about enjoying it together. Kervin Arbro's in the chat saying, yo, welcome Kervin, how you doing mate? Megan says the fact that this is what they're doing with Finn and Damien. Hopefully this isn't all that they're doing with Finn and Damien, but it is nice to see that they're at least doing something with them and not leaving them completely absent. I don't think this will give people that WrestleMania payday. And I think it's quite interesting that we did just see Tommaso Ciampa listed. He's hanging out in the corner. It looks like we're still going to get the entrance for for Finn Balor, and for Damian Priest. But can I just say, the crowd, not that interested in what's going on here. Megan says, no shade to the Andre Battle Royal, but they should have a match this weekend. I don't think there's much shade there, to be completely honest. I think that makes perfect sense. I think this is certainly a drop further down the rung, as it were. Dolph Ziggler, being introduced as the NXT champion, is on the way down to join the match, with a Robert Roode in tow. No sign of Bron Breakker at least at the moment, but who can say? Who can say? Sean says, do we think WWE won't say Cesaro is the first Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner? I think they're just going to go ahead and not mention it. In good old-fashioned WWE style, anything that they don't mention, it never happened and never existed. Good old standard. We're getting a recap from NXT Roadblock of Dolph Ziggler becoming the champion. Bron Breakker looking baffled, like, Ciampa, what the hell, man? What the hell? And they are mentioning Rick Steiner as Bron Breakker's father, which is clearer than they've been doing. Okay, so it looks like the SmackDown Go Home show is also working as the NXT Go Home show. This show is serving a multitude of purposes. In many ways, it's kind of just in the way at this point. Finn Balor now making his entrance, getting a good pop from the crowd doing so. Not really been seen in these parts since getting beat up by Roman, I tell you that. Kervin says, I wish WWE moved Becky and Bianca to night 2 because they have both women's championships on one night. They do, although there are 3 women's championships and the other women's championship, the tag championship, is on night 2. So it is balanced out in a way after a fashion. Sai welcome says, evening all, let's try and make it through the next few nighttime sessions alive. Yeah, my sleeping pattern is not set yet, so I've got to be honest, if there was ever a show I'm going to fall asleep during, this is it. Hopefully SmackDown's at least interesting enough to convince me. Okay, the bell has rung. Do I see Priest? Because the bell's rung. I expected Priest to get an entrance. Whatever happened to that guy? Shanky's certainly got potential here. Commander Aziz being a giant as well. Dijakovic could be onto something. Tozawa's already gone. Maybe this will be the Jinder Mahal one. I find it unlikely. Megan says, apologies in advance for any mistakes I make. I have this stream on my phone because I have SmackDown and Supercard of Honor side by side on my screen. And I think that's fair. You can at least keep us up to date on that one. I mean, it's Supercard of Honor. We should be expecting fun. Thank you, Megan, saying he was already in the ring. So, Priest got the Jobbers entrance. I am surprised. Jermaine says, can somebody explain to me why is Dolph Ziggler the NXT champion in this Andre the Giant Battle Royal Memorial? It's just as bad as Finn Balor, the US champion, in this way to diminish both titles. Ultimately, that's as much explanation as you're going to get. It's just the case that he didn't really have a storyline for the WrestleMania main card, so they're throwing him into the Battle Royal to just give him something to do that they call under the WrestleMania banner. I mean, they get a payday out of it, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not good. Dijakovic really selling his elimination strongly. Megan says, will the winner of this be gone by next year or not? Depends who wins. If it's Shanky, yeah, probably. I would ultimately be very surprised if it's not one of the big three, that being Ziggler, Balor and Priest. Maybe Mansoor? I mean, I think somebody in the WWE got bored of Mansoor over the last year or so. He was undefeated not too long ago. Madcap Moss with a bit of a no-sell of a... Oh, lovely elimination by Madcap Moss, who, as we know, eliminated AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble. Guy's on a roll when it comes to big eliminations. Drew Gulak is gone. Baron Corbin's here. This could go wrong. This could go very wrong. Corbin almost guaranteeing the elimination of Moss. A little bit of a debate. Tommaso Ciampa takes the opportunity. Corbin helps again. Moss needs to focus now. Ciampa with another chance to eliminate him. And Corbin's off. That was a whole lot of nothing. To be fair, this Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is a whole load of nothing. I mean, it works. We just seem to have had a bit of a break in there where it's like, okay, now it's the Madcap Moss bit. And still the Madcap Moss bit. And still the Madcap Moss bit. But nothing's actually happened. Cedric Alexander is gone. Possibly from the company shortly. Can't imagine he's too happy at the moment. Commander Aziz is trying to protect Apollo Crews from Shelton Benjamin. They're trying to get some storyline going here, and that's not bad. Megan says Ciampa and Priest both got jobber entrances. When the actual is that about? They made me so angry that I'm swearing. I know, Megan. I know. Imagine a Scottish person swearing. It never happens. Ciampa has eliminated Mansoor. Maybe this is Ciampa's now. Maybe this is his official debut. Cruz is gone. The Viking Raiders were celebrating, but they've been azized. Shanky helping out for some reason. Oh, I think they're giving us one of those giant stare downs and like, but you can't be good. You're big like me. I feel like they're waiting for a crowd reaction that's not going to come. Sean says, which three Andre the Giant Royal Battle Royal winners are no longer with WWE? Obviously Cesaro and Matt Hardy. As regards the other one, I'm not sure. Oh, Big Show. Chelsea, how you doing, mate? Says, hi Tom, how are you? I'm here for WrestleMania weekend. Well, there's a lot of stuff coming out on this channel over the course of WrestleMania weekend, I tell you that. Damian Priest has found Finn Balor. Trying to lawn dart him out. Balor's holding on. If there's going to be a US Championship match at Mania, now's the time when they make that happen. Look at him trying to wrestle. Imagine trying to wrestle in a battle royal. You don't see it. And Priest is gone. Logically at this point, if there's a future match coming, then Priest is probably getting back in the ring. Rude and Ziggler trying to eliminate Ciampa at the moment. Doing so successfully. Ziggler and Rude in a good position. We've got Madcap Moss, we've got Finn Balor as the only face there. This feels like it's going to be a Madcap Moss win. Megan says this is Braun and Mark Henry again, except no one cares. Nobody really cared all that much about Braun and Mark Henry, to be fair. Only briefly, at least. Chelsea says, how's the streams been going? How's the job? And how's life been treating you? All has been going very, very well, Chelsea. I've been assured of a further impending promotion at the job, which is just lovely. Which takes me up to a very nice position financially. Madcap Moss is eliminating the Dirty Dogs. Very nearly eliminates Finn Balor. And leaves us with Finn Balor and Madcap Moss. The crowd really into this point because, let's face it, it's Finn Balor. And Balor's gone. Lovely sidestep by Moss. Madcap Moss joins Baron Corbin as an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner. Not someone I would have expected, but honestly, when you consider he did eliminate AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble. Not a bad winner, as it were. I've turned the music down, Chelsea. If it's still annoying to yourself and others, I will turn it off. For now, to turn it down. Outside of that, the streams going very well. We are monetized now. Over the past few months, we've just gained a whole load of new subscribers, and things have been paying off very nicely. So things are going brilliantly. Sai said this crowd likes Moss. I don't hate him. That might just be because I'm, by and large, a Baron Corbin fan. But as insufferable as Madcap Moss can be, he also has some redeeming features as well. Megan says Cesaro, Big Show, Mojo Rawley, Matt Hardy and Braun Strowman all gone. Only winners still there are Corbin and Jey Uso, so definitely more than 3. Sean adding Mojo and Braun are former winners as well. Joseph says, good to hear. I'm just really glad things are paying off quite nicely for me, I've got to say. And I'm enjoying it. Moss is trying to celebrate with the crowd, but they're not letting him. Megan says Corbin and Moss are going to be insufferable, even more so. That's what they do. That's what they are. That's who they be. Madcap Moss thinks everyone wants the joke. What have you got, Moss? Ideally, this is the time when Drew McIntyre pops out and just hits him with a Claymore. Doesn't sound like that's actually going to happen, though. Sean says, what does the Battle Royal do for the winner? I think more should be on the line than just getting a trophy. I agree, but that is all they get. They just get the trophy. Justin says, what a waste of Balor. Should have at least had Priest cost Balor the match. Yet nothing happened with Balor and Priest. I don't think we're getting that WrestleMania match for the US title. Chelsea says, what happened to the channel points? Well, we have moved on to a dual stream again. That's the thing with YouTube. We have it on YouTube and on Twitch. And because of that, and because of how busy some of our shows are getting, we had a peak of 47 people in one YouTube show, 66 people total over the last couple of weeks. We just aren't able to keep up with channel points at the moment. I'm considering how to change the show in order to feature what would have been the channel point options. But at the moment, unfortunately, it's just kind of difficult to keep up with it all. There is a lot going on right now and a lot I have to revisit post-WrestleMania. We are getting an update. Oh, sorry, we're getting a recap on what happened last week with Ricochet, the Intercontinental Champion, leading into the triple threat match that will be taking place on tonight's SmackDown. It sort of seems as though we're about to get that, and all of the WrestleMania overflow is going to be handled in the first half hour. At least if they do that, they can then get on to the go-home show stuff. Jermaine says, I don't have a problem with Madcap Moss winning. I just think the breakup between him and Happy Corbin is going to happen real soon. If anything, what's happened there is that Madcap Moss has made Baron Corbin very happy. And in fact, Baron Corbin did protect him on brief occasions during that match. Sergio says Finn Balor is a champion, but with the way WWE treats their mid-carders, he basically isn't a champion. At the moment, with some championships, yes. It really depends on what the championships are. The Intercontinental Championship has been an afterthought for a while, but I think Ricochet having it has been a plus. The US Championship, Finn Balor is the US Champion. That's a plus for Balor after what happened with he and Roman last year. But still, not really doing much of anything. So, yes and no. Megan says, Supercard update. Swerve just beat Alex Zane in a pretty good opening match. Ooh. It's nice to see Swerve in action again. We know what he can do, and we know that we didn't get to see any of it in WWE. It kind of seemed pointless just having him in WWE, knowing that he was never really going to be allowed to do anything, and he never was. It was just very much a case of being held to the mark and no opportunities given. And we have our first commercial break, really straight into the action this week. This sounds like it's going to be a bit of a frantic SmackDown. If you are currently watching on YouTube, please do remember that you can hit the like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference to the viewership of the show and the subscription numbers as they grow and as we grow as well. Sergio says, any rumours about a potential Rock return at WrestleMania? None whatsoever. There is a lot of fans saying it's going to happen, but there is nobody in the know suggesting that it might happen. So either the WWE are playing a blinder or it's not going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen, personally. Justin Stevens says, Balor sells merch, gets pops, great wrestler, but doesn't really get anything. He should be fighting Styles, Edge, etc. on Raw, but gets nothing. Maybe that's the plan for after WrestleMania. If there is a plan for a faction involving Edge and Damian Priest, then logically, that should walk us pretty quickly into a feud between Edge and Finn Balor. And a feud between Edge and Finn Balor is something that I've wanted to see for a while. It just... Unfortunately, Edge isn't giving a lot to people other than people who are already established at the top level. Megan says, I probably should ask, are people okay with me posting Supercard stuff? I don't want to spoil it if people don't want me to. If anyone can let Megan know whether or not they would like her not to spoil things on Supercard, I'm happy with you sharing and enjoying, because ultimately it's a show that's happening at the same time. If anyone's watching SmackDown with the plan of saving Supercard until later, by all means say so now. Or forever hold your peace. Sean says, were you surprised that Toni Storm was a Mystery Woman and not Athena? Also, most were surprised Tony's no-compete clause was up. Some thought it was early. Toni Storm's no-compete clause, I believe, was only a 30-day one because she didn't sign a new contract when she came up to the main roster. So nothing particularly special there, just hadn't signed the new contract as of yet. And yeah, pleasantly surprised. I still think Athena's going to be joining AEW soon. But hey, if we get more Toni Storm, all the better. She's a very good wrestler. Okay, so doesn't bother Larry. Kuro has asked for no Supercard. So let's just have no results, Megan. I think that's a fair thing. We can mark out about things happening there as long as it's no particular big spoilers. You know, this match is happening now, this match is great, and so on and so forth. But no results, if you will. Larry says, hello, have I missed anything interesting? Madcap Moss winning the Battle Royal? It depends what you consider interesting, let's be honest. Simon Welcome says, hey Tom, just joined. Isn't it Sasha and Naomi versus Queen Zelina and Carmella tonight? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't really focused on it. I tried to have a nap before the show, which is one of the reasons I'm a little bit knackered. But very probably, I mean, all the stars are going to be out tonight. It's the go-home show for WrestleMania. Jermaine says, I have no problem with Megan sharing the Supercard results. Keep sharing, Megan, keep sharing. Let's stick to no results, but by all means mark out, as it were. Megan says, match right now is Ninja Mac against Tully Blanchard's new protege. At some point I need to work out who that is, but certainly there have been rumours, and we did discuss it on Spoiler Warning earlier today. I feel that this show is going to be full of commercials and recaps. We've just had a commercial for WWE 2K22. And of course it's a go-home show for WrestleMania, so that's what we're expecting. We are heading into Ricochet versus Angel Garza versus Humberto Carrillo. Let's see who gets onto the kiss cam. And let's see how easily Ricochet escapes with this one. I get the feeling these two men are going to be distracting each other. Sean says, are you excited to be streaming non-stop? You're going to be a tired boy. I'm a tired boy now, Sean. I'm a tired boy now. The issue, as much as anything, is getting my sleeping pattern all swapped over. So I'm basically going nocturnal. I'm going to need that to watch WrestleMania because that's going to be late night shows. So I need to persevere and push through tonight. Tonight is when I'm going to flag. Tonight's when I'm going to find it difficult. Because, to be blunt, I'm already quite tired. It is 1:30 in the morning. And chances are we're not finishing until about 5 in the morning. They may come a point where I have to say thanks but no thanks on being awake. We have another Los Lotharios kiss cam. And another one of our new sign-ups who has a Mysterio top. Okay, Simon. Once again, Fightful being sent the sheet beforehand so they can say what's going to happen on the call sheet. Ooh, Megan says Tully has a stable of 3. The one that was in the match, and I'm assuming a tag team. Ooh. And Justin says, why is it called WrestleMania Backlash instead of just Backlash? Well, the main reason for that... Oh, that went wrong. The main reason for that is that they know the WrestleMania name sells tickets. And it makes it easier to find on search engines. That's why. If they combine the two, they might get more buys, they might get more views, and honestly, because of the way that social media works, they will get more attention. As you learn more about the internet, you learn that stuff like this actually makes a lot of sense. Sean says, with not many inductees, I don't see the Hall of Fame being too long. I don't think it'll be more than an hour, personally. I don't think anyone will take more than 10, maybe 15 minutes for their speech. And as you say, there aren't that many people. But I can still see it being a pain in the arse. Kura says, Tommy, you're going to watch along Stand and Deliver. That's my plan, yes. I'm going to be watching Stand and Deliver here live on the channel. Patrick Valentine says, hi, Tom. Hello, Patrick. How you doing, mate? Great to see you. We are currently watching Ricochet versus Angel Garza versus Humberto Carrillo. At the moment, Los Lotharios working together, but as you'd expect, this won't last. This will probably last just as long as it takes for one of them to go for a pin. Kura says, Tom, don't die from sleep. I'll try not to die from sleep or lack of sleep. A double Hurricane Runner there from Ricochet. There's some strong thighs right there. We'll see how things go. As I say, this is now the third of what is expected to be 10 shows over the course of the next 4 days. We started yesterday. We go until Tuesday with NXT. That, I feel, is the one thing in question at the moment. The NXT watch along. But we'll see how that goes. Honestly, you know me. I love being on stream. And I have a great time doing it. Usually that's that makes me hype enough. And WrestleMania is WrestleMania. It's just a case that, it's a lot. It's a lot, but at the same time, it should be a big help in the growth of the channel. Little things like this can go a long way. Ooh. We have gone to our second commercial break. Megan says, up now on Supercard, Lee Moriarty versus Jay Lethal. Matt Sydal is at ringside. Last match did not go long at all. Justin Stevens says, over-under on Undertaker speeches, 30 minutes. Yes, but at the same time, I think Vince McMahon's going to take a while as well. Larry Bongo says, I remember before the internet, WWF, as it was at the time, would post VHS tapes to every pay-per-view buyer and make them promise not to watch them till 9 p.m. on a specific day. You have some wild ideas, Larry, some wild ideas that I really enjoy. Justin says, I did survive Hillbilly Jim's speech, though. Undertaker I can see being very self-indulgent. I don't see many other people being, and honestly I think the WWE will just let him be self-indulgent. It's the Undertaker. He hasn't had much chance to really have himself a sign-off. Patrick says, people have claimed Toni Storm was wasted in WWE. Yes, she won the NXT UK Women's title, Mae Young Classic, and feuded with Charlotte. Toni wasn't wasted, she had a decent run in WWE. It's worth pointing out, as regards Toni Storm, she'd only just gotten to the main roster. Like, admittedly, she'd been there roughly a year by the time she left, and they didn't know much what to do with her, but they did have a long time to figure it out. She's still very young and still has a long future ahead of her. The WWE may have been able to work out something to do with her. They just, in the end, didn't have the time to do so. Now, the work of Charlotte wasn't good enough, and she did receive a lot of the blame for that, but she decided to walk, and all power to her. If she feels she can do better elsewhere, she will do better elsewhere. Certainly the WWE would not have let her have an OnlyFans, whereas AEW don't care all that much. And she's made a lot of money from that so far. That's the thing worth mentioning at this point. Wrestling is the same as anything. Everyone nowadays can make a lot of money on a side hustle depending on what that side hustle is. OnlyFans has proven to be very, very effective at making money. So Toni Storm had a perfect opportunity to do that, and everything going on with WWE in the build-up has only helped her to establish who she is, make her a star, and then make people sign up. If you can get on board with, for example, Twitch, as many wrestlers have as well, you can find ways to make a lot of money independently while the company that you're working for is making you a star and guaranteeing that more people are going to find you on that Twitch. You can benefit yourself from that star power a lot more than you used to be able to. I'll tell you that. Justin says, no disrespect, but 100% wasn't impressed with Toni at all. Didn't see her NXT UK stuff, but from what I see in NXT and main roster, wasn't impressed. Certainly the matches she had with Charlotte were not particularly impressive. They just weren't. Also her debut match against Zelina Vega, there was a botch in that. She was not fortunate, let's say. Megan says a Hall of Fame rerun tomorrow is scheduled for 2 hours on the network. Yeah, so 5 a.m. was a realistic amount of time then. Yay! We'll see if I can make it, let's be honest. We'll see if I can make it. We may have to scrap it before the Hall of Fame and leave that one be. We are back to WWE Smackdown. Ricochet taking on Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. It looks like these two matches that would have been on the WrestleMania card are going to be our opening third of SmackDown. Haven't seen much really announced yet. No real mention of Brock. No mention of Roman, Sasha, Charlotte, Ronda. The big name stars that we're expecting to see. No mention of Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville either. So no mention of any of them. We do need to get to a point where they're in use, because so far, SmackDown starting with wrestling, but starting with very little star power. Finn Balor, unfortunately, not enough to keep people tuned in, I don't think. Both of the Lotharios are still working together, very smoothly at the moment. Still no attempt at a pin yet. That, I feel, is when it's going to go negative. It's a very athletic match, I tell you that. It's very cruiserweight division. There was our first pin attempt by Humberto Carrillo. Angel Garza not happy. As I said, the first pin attempt really changing what's happening there. Megan says all three have very similar gear. They do. They do, using that gold. So it says, looking forward to seeing if Rousey Charlotte can top the haircut go-home angle. So far as the supposed rivalry between the two matches has been a no contest. Very much so, yes, unfortunately. Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair have not delivered anything close to what Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair have been able to deliver. Jermaine says, way to go, Tom. This is 205 Live on a Friday Night Smackdown. Pretty much. We've had our first attempted pin between the Lotharios. This is where it all goes wrong. The crowd are a lot hotter for this than I expected. The Lotharios are a little more over than I realised. Is it that hard to win the championship and then just have a match between each other? It shouldn't be that difficult. I'm not sure how much of this audio is sweetened, because it sounds like the crowd's really into it, but a lot of people have just sat down. Ricochet has been thoroughly in this fight the whole time, which is nice. The guy's getting put over and never seems to be looking at the other guy while he's pinning him. Bad call. Sean says, do you think Bayley, Kyrie and Sammy needed to turn heel? They were over with the fans and always got reactions from fans, especially Bayley and Sammy. Got a big pop when Bret Hart introduced him. Bayley definitely needed to turn heel. Something needed to change. As regards Sammy, he's a great heel. I have no issue with the heel turn. Sometimes it's not about needing to turn heel, it's about wanting to turn heel. I think that was definitely the case with Bayley. Simon says, Sasha's got to wrestle, then get her what will be an unbelievable, stunning, gorgeous red carpet look dress on for the Hall of Fame. I'm sure she will dress up for the Hall of Fame. Usually she's a playsuit person, though. Justin says, Rousey still claims she's a main event match tomorrow for an interview. I wonder if Charlotte versus Rousey will be the main event match, but Stone Cold KO segment will be last. That seems to be what the rumours are, but certainly they are still just rumours. And Megan says, probably saving energy for later. Indeed, they've been very clever with this match so far. Ricochet's been heavily involved, always able to beat someone one-on-one, but not able to beat it when it's two-on-one. It's very similar to, in ages past, Bayley versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Bayley always seemed confidently ahead of one woman, but not both women. I'm seeing the potential for a Tower of Doom here, but it looks like Ricochet's reversing. I do apologise, I'm fighting a yawn there. Ricochet throwing one Lothario onto the other. Opportunity presents itself. Ricochet on the top rope. Points to the roof. Hits both his finishers in a row there. And that should be all she wrote. It wasn't all down to the distraction. The distraction was certainly beneficial in keeping Ricochet in the fight. But Ricochet very much earned the win there solo. Solid match. I really enjoyed that. Gave us plenty of high-flying action, as it were. But as much as anything, everyone had positive moments. Everyone got to show off. Everyone got to stand out. A very well-booked triple threat, I feel. Justin says, Sheamus or Corbin will be the next IC champ. No reason why not. I like that combination there. I feel Sheamus is more than ready to be an IC champion. Will be very good in that role. Corbin, I'm not sure. I feel Corbin needs to at some point win championships. It's been a long time, and even when he did win the US championship, it was very, very brief. He's a top level heel, and I'm surprised he's not at some point won the top level championship. But if he can, might as well make him an IC champion. I think he'll be very good in that role. Sean says, is it possible that KO show with Stone Cold is on last to stop fans from getting up and leaving during Ronda versus Charlotte like they were for Sasha versus Bianca last year? Nobody was leaving for Sasha versus Bianca last year. Why do you think people were leaving during Sasha versus Bianca last year? They weren't, to my knowledge. Up next, a recap of Kevin Owens' feud with Steve Austin. They've been pushing this heavy. Every single show, not just on Raw where it's actually happening. Every SmackDown there's a recap of what's been happening with Kevin Owens. So I said, I'm confused by the arena setup. If the Hall of Fame is immediately after Raw, where are they going to sit the roster? Assuming the speeches are happening in the ring. I'm also curious as to that. I'm not sure what they're doing, but I'm excited to see what it is they end up delivering. And Megan says, up next, a highlight reel. Yeah, it's not great, is it? The WrestleMania Go Home show is Recap Central. I mean, SmackDown's been Recap Central for a while, but still. It's the home of Roman Reigns, at least until Roman Reigns becomes dual brand. But there's no real effort to keep it separate. Sean says, I think it was said by the Observer that people were leaving to beat the traffic out of the stadium. Yeah, if you look at the crowd, they weren't. The Observer also said everybody was leaving during the Alexa Bliss Charlotte Flair segment. Nobody was leaving then either. Megan said, this is a pre-show with a smaller booth. Sadly, yeah, that's basically what's happening. Justin says, terrible first 40 minutes. Can I ask why? The Battle Royal wasn't tremendous, it was okay, but I feel the Triple Threat was a good match. We haven't had too much recap as of yet in the first 40 minutes. I think SmackDown's been okay so far. It needs an injection of, like, star power, no question, but I wouldn't say it's been bad. Lethal and Moriarty still ongoing, right. See, the signing of Jay Lethal to AEW makes a lot more sense now that Ring of Honor's in play. Jermaine says, somebody and some podcast that posted some fake news that people were leaving during Sasha vs Bianca, which was totally untrue because nobody left before or during that match. I imagine some people did leave ultimately, but certainly nothing noteworthy on it. There was a full crowd for that match, no question. Simon says, can't wait to see Seth's Hall of Fame suit. Imagine it could be like the Riddler or the Joker. Certainly, being Seth Rollins, he will have given us something quite fun. Justin says, 0 star power. You're not wrong there. I would have liked to at least see a little bit of Drew McIntyre. We had Finn Balor, but questionable as to how much star power Finn Balor has nowadays, unfortunately. The WWE have damaged that. Megan says, I think the last half hour, maybe even longer, will be lots of videos so they can set up for the Hall of Fame. That'll be it. I feel like maybe we're not going to see Roman and Brock, but the last 10 minutes will just be a massive long recap of Roman and Brock just so they can get set up. Sean suggests Seth in a Loki suit. Ooh. I'm confused as to why we haven't seen more of the Seth-Loki connection. It's there. It's very much there. And he may as well take advantage of it while he can. If you are currently watching on YouTube, please do remember that you can click the like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference to the show. We are still looking to grow here on this channel. We have recently broken that 1,000 subscriber mark, but I do feel we can continue to grow larger over the course of WrestleMania weekend. We're currently at 1,056 subscribers. Pardon me, but every little does, of course, help. So if you're able to, please do remember to click like and keep that chat rate going too. We are about to have the Stone Cold lineup, which basically is WWE's way of saying, please tune in, please God tune in for WrestleMania. It'll be worth it, I promise it'll be worth it. Jermaine says AT&T Stadium is huge, one of the biggest football stadiums in USA. They can probably split it in half, SmackDown half and Ceremony in the second half. I mean, not impossible. I do feel like they probably left some room on the hardcam side to seat the superstars. I feel there's definitely potential there. Justin Stevens says, best WrestleMania opener ever. I've always been of the same opinion when it comes to WrestleMania. We've had some great matches. I really enjoyed Seth versus Finn versus The Miz. I feel that's way up there. But for me, it's still Bret and Owen. WrestleMania 10. Knowing what would happen later on as well, with Bret Hart winning the championship from Yokozuna, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart with Owen winning was a great opener for WrestleMania. I think the Intercontinental Triple Threat between Balor, Miz and Seth Rollins is right up there, but I would still at this point give it to Bret versus Owen. Just a fantastic match. Megan says, could be interesting because I'm sure Charlotte said in an interview today with Ariel Helwani that Andrade will be with her at the Hall of Fame. Certainly possible. We're not guaranteed to see all the superstars, but I see no reason why the WWE wouldn't let Andrade sit with her. I see no reason why that would be an issue. Sean says, Kevin has talked a lot of smack about Texas. I won't be surprised if Booker T and JBL want to kick his ass also. Both of them are secondary to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Completely secondary. If Austin was available, it was always going to be Austin. Megan says, Seth versus Finn versus Miz was the first one I thought of. WrestleMania 34 was a pretty good WrestleMania. If I'm ranking WrestleManias, which so far I'm not, that would be very much up there. At some point we should do that. We should do a show where between a lot of YouTube polls we try and work out what is the best WrestleMania of the chat here. Not just my favourite, but for everyone. You know, like Finn Balor is for everyone. I don't know how we'd make that work of all the different polls and stuff, but I'd like to try. Oh, we've just gone past Lethal and Moriarty. Megan, what's Jay White doing at Supercard of Honor tonight? I'd imagine he's going to appear. Simon says, Rampage looks great. The lineup tonight is Paige Van Zandt appearing on it. Well, I'm excited to see what Paige Van Zandt does. I think she's a very good signing. This is a really, really long recap. This is just taking forever. It's a good thing I've got all of you here to chat along to basically make it a lot more exciting when we're just going through recaps and pictures of people being stunned. The watch-alongs have just enough engagement and chat that even when it's slow on TV, I still have something to talk about. So thanks, guys, for keeping me company here. Sean says, I know a lot said WrestleMania 2 and 9 are the worst WrestleManias. I've never seen WrestleMania 2. WrestleMania 9 is bad. It's bad. From JR and Itoga to basically all of the finish, and Hulk Hogan being Hulk Hogan, it bad. Not sure. Fair enough, Megan. I'm sure he's going to be there. Supercard of Honor was always a JY special. He always made a point of being there for it. So we had a good 5 minutes of recap with Kevin Owens and Steve Austin, but now we are heading into Boss and Glow. We have got Sasha Banks and Naomi about to head down to the ring. We wanted star power, and now we have it. Looks like they're actually coming down separately this time. In the good old words of JR, business is about to pick up. We have Sasha Banks, we have Drew McIntyre, we have Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Charlotte, Ronda Rousey. We have star power out the wazoo about to start appearing and about to start showing up. So now's the time to do it. Now's the time to celebrate. Sasha Banks in her Sailor Moon gear, which she last used, I believe, at the Royal Rumble. Kuro says there is a total of 19 hours of wrestling content combined for all of Mania weekend. That is a lot of content. And most of that I'm going to be live streaming. Yay. It is indeed going to be Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Queen Zelina and Carmella. And she is the one called Sailor Banks. She is the one, Sailor Banks. That's literally all I know about Sailor Moon, by the way. Naturally never really appealed to me. Sean says, do you see Undertaker as a two-time Hall of Famer? I can see Brothers of Destruction being inducted maybe, but not necessarily. I don't think there's any particular reason to have a second induction for The Undertaker. Like, I don't know what else he'd be brought in as. I don't see the corporate ministry ever being Hall of Fame, I'll say that. Other than Brothers of Destruction, I think that's about it. And we have a commercial break. I'll be interested to see if this tag match goes long enough for Sasha Banks and Naomi to be the draw segment. It only has to go 10 minutes to reach that, so I don't see why not. We're also definitely going to get some sort of segment involving the New Day, because they have to remind us that that match is happening. Outside of that, I'm not sure what else to expect from the Go Home show tonight. Definitely something about Roman and Brock, naturally. But other than that, I'm honestly feeling Recap City. Sean says, I agree with you. Mobius doesn't look all that great. I'm more interested in Doctor Strange too. I'm not against Morbius. It seems okay. I like the idea of Matt Smith being a villain, though he seems very much like David Tennant as a villain, which naturally makes me very happy. But we'll see how it plays out. I'm waiting for some reviews. I haven't heard good things so far. It just seems average to me. Also, I may have got my partner and her family into Doctor Who, and it's made me very, very happy. Megan says, next on Supercard, Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Martinez for the interim women's title. Willow Nightingale, no, I said Willow Martinez. Willow Nightingale is not a name that I'm familiar with. Interesting. Mercedes Martinez naturally is, but Willow Nightingale, not one I know. Justin Stevens says, favourite version of Undertaker, 90 to 97. Ministry, American Badass, or 2004 to Retired. Difficult one. I think classic Undertaker personally. That 90 to 97 element, that's the one for me. I saw a lot of the Undertaker sort of in between roles. Before Ministry Undertaker, he became quite close to American Badass. And in fact afterwards, spitting tobacco, wearing bandanas and the like, he very much moved towards that. So I was not big on the American Badass, but it was good for their time. They needed to do something that fit the attitude era and what he was doing. But Ministry Undertaker, definitely not for me. Just it was a lot. Megan says this is the first time I've seen Willow as well. Interesting. Sean says Mercedes is unfortunately one of those that fell to the Robert Stone curse. I don't know if Robert Stone is going to be with this company much longer, I tell you. He's not really developed in any way, shape or form since he started. There's just been no evolution. So we are heading into a tag team match. Sasha Banks and Naomi will be taking on the current tag team champions Carmella and Zelina Vega. This seems like an ideal time to tease some tension in the ranks of the women's tag team champions. No Corey Graves to distract Carmella, but Carmella can distract herself, I'm sure. As well, Okay. I don't know if everybody else had the same reaction that I did. I'm going to leave you guys to try and work out why I had the reaction that I did. But I did have a reaction there. All of the competitors for the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Championship match are involved. The fact that it's a Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Championship and not a Four Corners suggests that we're going to have 4 women in the ring at once. Maybe, Megan. Maybe. Maybe. Dominic says, are you going to cover the Ring of Honor pay-per-view? I am not covering the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Just to be clear, I'm just covering SmackDown. I'm only watching the one thing. If I tried to watch both, I don't think I'd be able to stream at the same time because streaming can be quite intensive. So at the moment, I'm just doing that. But we are talking about the the Super Card of Honor. We're just not doing spoilers about it. I respect it, Megan. The juxtaposition of, angel, devil, darkness and light, that was striking at first. And that drew my attention. And then it kept my attention. And still has my attention. Larry says, Stone spent about 10 years in TNA and basically never changed, never improved, nothing. Well, I think that's kind of become his thing then, unfortunately. Sean says, fun fact, does everyone know that Carmella is a second generation superstar? I do. I don't know if everyone does. I can't speak for everyone, but I certainly did. I really like the friendship between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Like, they are genuinely close. And the fact that they're sort of cuddled up on the outside, it's kind of sweet, it's kind of romantic. It's just nice to see. They look like a genuine tag team who's having a great time. This, as a tag team, works for me. Much better than Ripley and Nikki Cross did. I would probably keep this tag team going for about a year or so. Both women can get over with this. I would definitely let them have the championships. Probably not for too long. I would have Sasha and Naomi win the championships, feud with Liv and Rhea, and lose the championships around about SummerSlam time. And then both women would go back into the singles division, but Liv and Rhea could hold on to those championships for a while, appearing on both shows. It works for me. It's a push, and a good one. Sean says Carmella's dad was a wrestler in the 90s. He was mostly a jobber. Quite a few wrestlers were at the time, to be fair. A lot of wrestlers never made it big. Nowadays, basically any wrestler has a much higher chance of making it now than ever before because of so much potential, so many different companies, so much competition. Zelina Vega tagged in, attacks Naomi to give her an opportunity to make sure Sasha Banks does not tag out. Sasha Banks is building a hot tag as we speak. This is a very, very colourful group of attire and group of gear in the ring. Naomi, as we know, is the most colourful person in the world. Sasha Banks giving her a run for her money, but Zelina Vega certainly adding a lot of colour as well. If this was a game of a popular card game, Unstable Unicorns, I'd be hard pressed to say who goes first. Because on Unstable Unicorns, whoever has the most colour on their person goes first. Justin says Sasha and Naomi have won every match over the last few weeks. I don't believe Sasha and Naomi are winning. I still believe they are, but who can tell? I don't think many people are going to be that upset if Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley have the opportunity. That is the win for Sasha Banks and Naomi. The actual wrestling match lasted about 5 minutes. I think the entrances actually went longer. That's a shame. Yeah, as Sai says, Ronda the draw segment seems a fair bet now. Charlotte and Ronda up next. Sean says everyone's thoughts on the recent gifts Seth has been posting. Enjoyed them. Seth knows how to rile people up and get them talking. And he's been very, very good at it recently. Very good. And Megan says, I can't wait to see Zelina's gear tomorrow. Nerds assemble. Assemble indeed. So we're seeing earlier today Ronda training with Shayna. Curiously, we saw basically nothing from Shayna and Natalya during that tag match. They just stood stoically doing nothing. We saw a lot of Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley because they were interesting. They were doing something interesting, even if that interesting thing was just talking to each other, was just connecting. Kevin Dunn will recognise that that's an opportunity to get slightly more over, and he'll take advantage of that. Even if he was, of course, the mastermind behind Hot Lesbian Action, which he definitely had something to do with that, and he may just be like, oh, look at these two, they're dating, they're not dating, but he will use that to try and get them over if he can. Justin says, I think Liv and Rhea are the way to go. Sasha is needed in the main women's title picture. I don't feel Sasha is needed in the women's title picture yet, but I think by around SummerSlam time she will be. I would much rather see Sasha versus Ronda at SummerSlam than Money in the Bank, for example. I think that makes more sense personally. So I agree and disagree with you at the same time there, Justin. I don't think it needs to be immediate, but I do think she's needed. We are getting a commercial for the Raw after WrestleMania. I do get the feeling they're trying to sort of claim ownership of the Raw after Mania again, because Raw after Mania is run by the crowd. That's always been the case. But hey, they're trying. We are halfway through SmackDown. So far it's been average. Average, yeah. But now's the time for the stars. New Day, McIntyre, Ronda Rousey and Charlotte. We've just had Sasha Banks. Whatever is going to happen with Roman and Brock, now is the time to pull the stars out. So it should be getting better as it goes on. I'm expecting something quite hot at the end to try and keep the crowd ready for the Hall of Fame. But we'll see how it plays out. Patrick says Sasha is losing at WrestleMania since she won. I wouldn't necessarily say that's the thing. I know there's like a lot of talk about, oh, if you win on the go-home show, you'll lose at the pay-per-view. If you actually look at the stats, that happens about half the time. Just about half the time. Considering most matches are one-on-one, it is just like half the time. So it's not a hard and fast rule that a lot of people seem to think it is. While we're at a commercial break, let's have a quick chat about what we're doing at the moment at the Tom Colohue channels. We will be streaming the Hall of Fame. We will be streaming Stand and Deliver. We will be streaming both nights of WrestleMania. We will be streaming Raw. And we will be streaming NXT. And of course, on Monday, we will be doing our usual spoiler warning show as well. If that's something you're interested in, then make sure that you are following if you watch on Twitch, that you are subscribed if you watch on YouTube, that you've clicked like on this video and all the others that will be coming soon. And also, if you'd like to support further, you have many options to do that. You can subscribe on Twitch, become a channel member on YouTube, or donate either using bits on Twitch or with super chats on YouTube. Any money at the moment that comes in is going to the growth of the channel and the eventual arrival of Team Colohue. I have planned out a rough outline for what I want from Team Colohue, which I've planned out over the last couple of days. There will be more coming as we formalise that when I have some time post-WrestleMania. I'm definitely thinking Pat McAfee and Austin Theory will engage in some way tonight. I'm kind of hoping we see Vince McMahon tonight. Jermaine says, I still think Sasha and Naomi are winning. And Justin Stevens says, I don't know about that, Tom. Anytime it's a four-way, Money in the Bank, Chamber, etc. If you win, it's like 80% of the time they lose. I'm talking multi-people match. Not sure on that one. I'm not sure. From what I've seen, the stats don't quite bear out on that. So, that's from what I've seen. I think it's one of those things that a lot of moving parts to consider. One second, guys. Unfortunately, BT's having a bit of a mare. I'll be right back with you just while I sort this out. We have a recap high package. No one's there, are they? No one's there. All we're getting is recaps. Johnny Knoxville should be there. I'm expecting we'll at least see some Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville build. That's an element of star power. I do get what you're saying, Justin. We'll see how it goes. I still think Sasha and Naomi are taking it. Megan says they're getting ready for the Hall of Fame. They are. We're getting a lot of time-killing promotional packages. This isn't a go-home show. This is poor in that regard. Justin says, wasn't Access tonight? I believe it was today rather than tonight. Simon says, yeah, people are saying that because Bianca cut Becky's hair off, got momentum, that Becky is retaining. Yeah, I don't see that. I just see WrestleMania Backlash being a rematch, possibly hair v hair, between Becky and Bianca. A hair versus hair match would be a lot of fun, especially knowing that Becky would lose. Patrick says, in my opinion, Charlotte is better as a babyface than as a heel. I definitely don't agree with that, Patrick. Definitely don't agree with that. Charlotte, for me, is a very natural heel. Sean says, a bald Becky. I wouldn't go as far as bald, but I think she could rock the Molly Holly. I definitely think she could rock the Molly Holly. The hair thing has been introduced now, though. We need to be aware of that. Once it's been introduced, it's there. And Willow versus Mercedes is done. Megan, what did you make of Willow, then? What did you make of Willow? I'm certainly interested. I'm still surprised that this match hasn't been made a submissions match yet. There is still time, and maybe that's the WrestleMania Backlash plan. But it would certainly make it a lot more interesting, in my opinion. Megan says, I might look out for Willow going forward. I liked what I saw, fair enough. It's difficult with Ring of Honor because no one's officially signed to the company. And that just makes it so much more difficult to know what's going on. Justin believes Bianca is winning. But once again, one-on-one matches are different. Fair, fair. Sai says, I called the haircut angle. Okay, I got the wrong person. Predicting a double turn in the Becky-Bianca match tomorrow, though. Interesting, Sai. I don't see that happening at all, but certainly could be fun. I suspect we may go hair versus hair in a rematch, but that would be very much a case of Becky riding off into the sunset for a couple of months. Sean says, in my opinion, Alexa is a better heel, but she is a good baby face too. I think she's one of those where whichever alignment she has, the fans want her to be the other one. She's such a good heel that people cheer her, and she's one of those baby faces where people start to miss the heel after a while. Megan says Briscoes versus FDR look to be next on Supercard. Ooh, that'll be a fierce one. So after all of that recap hype package, Charlotte Flair is still coming down to the ring. This is this entire SmackDown is an exercise in killing time. Simon says, historical question for you, Tom. Whose contribution to women's wrestling is more important? Chyna, Lita, Trish in the Attitude Era, or the Four Horsewomen? You see, if I'm saying who's got the biggest impact, I wouldn't be listing any of those names. Like, I'd probably say Chyna had a big impact, but I'd say when it came to Lita and Trish and the Attitude Era, the reason women's matches started being featured more was they brought in Ivory to train Trish, to train Lita. Neither Trish or Lita were wrestlers when they came into the company. As regards the Four Horsewomen, I'd put AJ Lee, I'd put Paige as basically steering them. I put Mickie James as important coming through. There is a huge amount of people involved. Charlotte Flair is not in the ring. She's standing in the entryway instead. They are definitely setting something up right now. Justin says, as a huge Bliss fan, I prefer heel 16 to 19 Goddess Bliss over face/Fiend Bliss. Heel Goddess Bliss was certainly in my wheelhouse and certainly someone I'm a big fan of. I'm excited to see more of it. I just don't think we're going to see the Goddess ever again. Charlotte just destroying the what chance. All she has to do is say woo and everyone immediately gets on her side. That's beautiful. Sean says, was that why Alexa changed into her Lily character? Because she was getting bland as a face? Yes and no. She felt that the goddess had nothing more to offer. So she wanted to evolve the character. Fiend Bliss was an opportunity, and she decided to take it. Megan says, SmackDown brought to you tonight by wheel spinning. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Logically, right now, Ronda Rousey should come out and just beat the hell out of Charlotte. Patrick agrees Goddess Alexa Bliss is better than Fiend Alexa. I liked both. And I'm looking forward to seeing what she becomes. Sai says, I kind of understand the promo heavy show. It's like resting your best players before a cup final. They don't want any injuries at this point. Good analogy there, Sai. I completely understand that and relate to it. I've been doing that on Football Manager a lot recently. So I get what you're saying. I don't think we're going to see a lot of wrestling on this show. Sasha Banks probably wrestled the longest that anyone's going to be. But I get why the Battle Royal, why Ricochet was used in a longer element. They're basically spare at the moment. Simon says, how did you feel about China winning the IC title twice? Tessa winning the Impact World title, Championship Intergender Wrestling. I'm pro Intergender Wrestling. Regulars here will be fully aware of exactly what match I want to see most. It is, by the way, Rhea Ripley versus Drew McIntyre. I liked having China win the Intercontinental Championship. I didn't necessarily like Tessa winning the Impact Championship, because nowadays there are much more set divisions. When the Intercontinental Championship was won by China, there was no strong women's division for her to compete in. There just wasn't. So there was nothing else for her to really compete for. Much like I don't think men should be in the Women's Battle Royal or women should be in the Men's Battle Royal, but I was happy to see China in it because at the time, that was a big deal. Drew McIntyre has cornered. Not Drew McIntyre. Clever. Baron Corbin has Drew McIntyre's sword. Briefly got Madcap Moss with that. I'm starting to feel like we're not going back to the ring. Because next up is a recap of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. This time referred to as Out for Blood. This is not a good show. Justin says, if pandemic never happened, then neither would Fiend Bliss. Not true. There were already discussions over it before the pandemic hit. Megan says they're setting up for Hall of Fame. They're being too obvious with not showing the ring. You are not wrong. Sean says, do you think Vince will change his mind on any matches hours before WrestleMania? He is notorious for that. I think that's very possible. Certainly with some matches for the pre-show. Larry says, I thought the Zicky Dice show is tomorrow. Bloody missed it. Sorry to hear that, mate. Patrick says, as much as I love Charlotte, she won't win against Ronda Rousey. She won't. Sai says, appreciate the Football Manager analogy. That's kind of your thing. Too bad WWE is short on the new gen Wonder Kids. True, but they've got Bron Breakker and he's definitely 5-star potential. That's what we need to do. That's what we need. Megan says, no real surprise, but the Ring of Honor crowd is loud right now and the bell has just rung. And Someone7, welcome mate, says, are you going to watch the Hall of Fame? I am. I'm going to watch the Hall of Fame. Now, we are just past the hour, which means I'm going to take a brief break for 2 to 3 minutes, get myself a fresh drink, pop to the bathroom, and be right back. Please don't go anywhere. I'll be returning pretty much immediately in just a couple of minutes. Bear with me. I'll see you in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody. Because it's like just pure recap, we've not actually missed anything, even though I was slightly late coming back. That just was not strong. So I gotta admit, I was not in any particular rush. Right, let's catch up. Patrick says Pat McAfee loves Australian football. He praised Lance Buddy Franklin, not a name I'm aware of, though I do quite like Australian football myself. It is very entertaining. A lot happening at once. Jermaine says, I completely see Charlotte versus Ronda continuing into WrestleMania Backlash. I can see both women's feuds continuing, to be honest. Very much so, just going stipulation in the follow-up. Sean says, Joe Gacy introduced the idea of intergender wrestling into an episode of NXT when he was feuding with Roderick Strong for the Cruiserweight title. Okay. And Larry says, results from elsewhere. I did Wordle in 4 tonight. Well done, Larry. Well done. I don't do Wordle myself, but I've occasionally watched over the shoulder and done some suggestions when my partner has done it. She likes it. Yes, Dominic, I'm going to watch the Hall of Fame. Patrick says, looking forward to NXT Stand and Deliver. Hope Cora Jade wins the NXT Women's Championship. I think that's a strong possibility. I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for it. Sai says, I think half the card could run into Backlash. When Vince realises he's got another pay-per-view in a few weeks, he's going to lose his mind and start rewriting Mania to keep something back. That sounds about accurate. Megan says, crowd update from Supercard. They are so hyped, I've had to turn the volume down. Meanwhile, of course, the crowd at Smackdown, probably not very interested. But they do get a Hall of Fame show out of it, so 2 birds, 1 stone. Sean says, with Cameron in the ladder match, does Carmelo retain or Santos win? I don't know. Honestly, no idea. I don't watch enough NXT. My prediction would be Carmelo retaining, but I think Santos Escobar is one of those. Far too good to ignore. Got to get him involved. Maybe he's your next Intercontinental Champion. You know, wouldn't be a big surprise to me. Get him a call-up. Get him involved. Certainly I can see him getting involved with someone like Ricochet in the near future. It makes sense to me. It makes perfect sense. There's no downside to that concept in my eyes. Okay, while we're just doing recap, I'm just going to try and refresh this because we are definitely not getting the best of streams right now. I don't know if it's just late night and my internet's not great. But who can tell? Who can tell something? But yeah, it's not delivering as I would like it, tell you that. And I can't exactly reset my internet right now. I'm streaming. One day I hope to just get the network service for this and I wouldn't need to worry too much about BT. Or I can just keep upgrading the PC as I had originally planned. And I'm sure that would start working. One of those where if I just do what I had always intended, probably wouldn't have a problem right now. Probably wouldn't have a problem. Simon says, the crew are all being so petty and negative on Twitter. Already Sasha goes 0-7 because of the go-home win. Again, means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. A lot of people really get into their own heads and decide that the sky is falling. The sky's not falling. The sky's fine. Sasha Banks is still popular. Vince still likes her. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It shouldn't be anywhere near as hard as so many of the fans are making it. I tell you that. Right, I'm definitely having some issues with this stream. I do apologise. Let me see what else I can find. This is definitely the least exciting part of being a streamer. The part where you're doing a watch along, but your BT's like, nah, no you're not. And you're like, well I am. And it's like, yeah, no you're not. Not a good thing. Let me try and get this unenhanced player going. Okay, we are connected. And we're live. And already buffering. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, we are at the ring, I'll tell you that. We have Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura down at ringside. Usos on the way down. Sean says, do you think Shinsuke should have won at WrestleMania 34 against AJ Styles? No, I like the heel turn. I think the heel turn was a good refresh of his character. I think he should have been a champion by now, but I don't feel he necessarily had to do it then. Sean says, chance the Bloodline leave with their gold at WrestleMania. I'm confident that the Bloodline will have at least 2 championships in tow when they leave WrestleMania. At least 2 championships in tow. That's what I think is going to happen. I'm wondering what they've done with the ring, because they were definitely setting something up during all that Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair segment. They were definitely setting something up. Okay, we have a smooth showing again. So we're having the pretty much the standard tag team build that the WWE have been doing for a long time now. It's just the other Uso versus the other member of Nakamura and Boogs. This time Rick Boogs goes up against Jimmy Uso. Just to keep this tag team feud going, just by putting them in a ring and being like, alright, just keep wrestling. It'll eventually all work out. I fixed my BT just in time for another commercial break. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. The middle 40 minutes of SmackDown was okay. We had a 5-minute match, 2 big long recaps, and a promo from Charlotte. It was okay. At most I'd call it average. Patrick says Rick Boogs looks like Rick Rude. There is definitely an intentional element to that. Definitely an intentional element, especially with the name that they've got. Sama says, I think Sasha and Naomi are still winning the tag titles, championships. Thank you for reassuring me, Tom, because Twitter is so toxic and negative. Twitter is. Twitter is a hellscape. There's a reason that Vince McMahon openly says we don't really listen to Twitter. Because you shouldn't listen to Twitter. Twitter is a hellscape. Twitter is full of people who decided to willfully misinterpret everything. Everyone there is a troll. Everyone there is looking to pick a fight, including me. Because as someone on Twitter, just by nature of Twitter, I am filled with hatred, bile, and the element of destruction. I just want to be the worst person in the world, like anyone else. That's just how Twitter works. So, one of the best things I would suggest, don't stay on Twitter too long. Drips and drabs. Tiny little bits. Avoid it if you can. Megan says Briscoes versus FTR is ongoing and mint. Which, if you're not aware of the particular slang involved in the word mint, that means it's good. Sean says if fans booked a WWE show, WWE be out of business. Yeah. Because here's the thing. Let's say the WWE went out and said to 100 of the most vocal fans on Twitter, you book a show. What would happen would be that they couldn't decide who won anything. They would all scream and shout at each other. And basically what would happen is the show would be cancelled. It's a wonderful, wonderful way in which people suck. Kura says, what's Twitter? Twitter is Twitter. You know what Twitter is. Patrick says, Michael Cole said Austin and KO are main eventing WrestleMania. Yep, don't that suck? Patrick says, is Twitch unbanned? No, there is no unban on Twitch on the main roster at the moment. Now, don't get me wrong, that's something that could change. But to my understanding, there is no unban whatsoever on Twitch. Twitch is still banned on the main roster and no plans at the moment to change that. The WWE want to control the use of their talent as much as possible, so they are not letting their talent work independent additional jobs. That's all it comes down to. Twitch is a second job, so they're trying to avoid letting that happen as much as possible. Kura says, no, Tom, if WWE went to fans and said, you book it, we get December to dismember. True. Megan says, I didn't realise I missed Theory knocking Pat down as he was dancing on the desk. I also missed that. That sucks. Sean says, fantasy booking here. WWE calls Tom Colohue and has him induct Triple H into the Hall of Fame next year. I would love to, but there are much better choices. I feel Stephanie's made for that role. You've got Stephanie there. You've got Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, X-Pac. There are some great choices. I don't think that'll be what happens. Sean says, if the Twitch ban is lifted, do you see Adam Cole coming back? No, it wasn't about Twitch. He just didn't want to be with the WWE anymore. Much like Johnny Gargano. He just didn't really want to be with the WWE anymore. That may change in future, but for now, the Twitch ban, if it's lifted, will make no difference. Corey says, Pat hits his head harder than I think was intended right on the corner of the table. Ew. Pat McAfee sounds like he's absolutely fine, but certainly could be a dangerous spot. Lil Tortilla Boy, welcome. Says Briscoes vs FDR is 100% living up to the hype. You all gotta watch it when you have the chance to. Thank you, Lil Tortilla Boy. Nice to know. I'll have to look that up. Simon says, by the crew's own logic, Liv Rhea won on the go-home Raw. Brock's looked strong the past few weeks, so by their own logic, Brock is winning the Unified World Championship. Yeah, but here's the thing. A large part of the Sasha Banks fan base is only there because she's not winning. A large part of the Sasha Banks fan base will not be there and will turn on her when she starts winning. That is a fact. That is a fact. The main reason for the crew, as it were, to be so behind her is the feeling that she's overlooked, that she's ignored. If she had a championship reign like Becky Lynch has, a large part of those people would turn on her. Patrick said, Seth Rollins said AEW mentioning WWE reeks of desperation, and I agree with him. Seth Rollins knows how to rile people up, I say that. He's certainly got people talking about him in the last few days, ready to take on Cody. And Sean says, Candice waits out the rest of her contract with WWE and doesn't return. Probably. I found that most likely, yeah. I think we'll see a couple of Candice LeRae matches because she does still have a contract and she will honour that. Once she has recovered from pregnancy, I think we will see her a couple of times, but nothing particularly substantial, probably just in NXT, and then she'll move on somewhere else. Whatever works with her, really. She's one of those people, very, very talented, has a lot to offer, will make decisions based on her own preferences. Austin Theory is coming down to annoy Pat McAfee again. Nakamura doesn't seem too happy about it. Pardon me. Oh, sorry, something irritated my nose, that. Right, so Pat got wet. Oh, Austin Theory just got attacked by Finn Balor. This match is being thrown out. Finn Balor is laying into Austin Theory. Are we going to see Damian Priest now? We know we're going to see a commercial break. I have a massive bald spot, don't I? Either way, boo. Patrick says, I'm ready for some Toxic Attraction on the main roster. Me too. Me too. That could be a lot of fun. And I think they're all ready. Sean says, I think Candice could be a great first feud for Cora if she wins a title. That is way too soon, I feel, to expect Candice LeRae back. Jermaine says, I think Sasha and Naomi win the tag titles at WrestleMania, then lose them to Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan in the UK pay-per-view. That would take us all the way to September. I'm not sure it'll go that long. I think SummerSlam's a bit more likely. Megan says, hi Finn, 6-man tag. 6-man tag's a possibility here. With Austin Theory joining the Usos and Finn Balor joining Boogs and Nakamura. Would be a fun one. That could be a fun match, but unfortunately I'm confident it would last no more than 5 minutes. Patrick says, I see Candice LeRae leaving WWE. Certainly a possibility. As I say, She is still under contract. Once she is recovered, she will probably wrestle a couple of matches, a couple of small feuds, and then go in whichever direction she chooses. Johnny Gargano has been able to leverage his star power and his time in the WWE into a very successful Twitch career. He doesn't need to wrestle anymore. He doesn't need to. Here's a thing that I always like to say. If things are going well, capitalize on it. So someone like Johnny Gargano launching his Twitch when he's just left the WWE and still has a lot of momentum behind his name, perfect. If he was launching his Twitch, say now, he wouldn't get the amount of momentum, he wouldn't get the same amount of attention, but it would still be good. Kura says, I might be delusional with noticing this, but I'm seeing Theory's character is similar to what WWE with Cena as a prototype. I'm not there with you, Kuro. I'm not there with you. It's a very different character, mostly because Austin Theory is annoying as hell, whereas John Cena was just, I am buff. And he was, but it's not the same for me. Megan says, okay, if you like tag team wrestling, Briscoes versus FTR is becoming a must-watch match. That is some high praise, Megan. You are certainly catching my interest. So we have less than a half hour left. I do think we are going to get a 6-man tag for 5-10 minutes. I do think we're going to see something with the New Day, something with Drew, something with Roman and Brock. I think that's probably it. I think ultimately we're just going to get a whole lot of recap. Simon has done some research. Says the latest Sky Bet odds for Sasha's match are Sasha and Naomi 4-7, Liv Rhea 3-1, Queen Zelina and Carmella 4-1, and Shayna and Natalya 5-1. I expected Shayna and Natalya to be a lot further down. So Sasha and Naomi are still the favourites, but not by too much. We are indeed in a 6-man tag match. Austin Theory not even bothering to look in the ring at the moment. They've just said the match was put together during the commercial break by Adam Pearce. We haven't seen Adam Pearce or Sonya Deville for a little while now. Jermaine says, I see Sasha and Ronda, both of them with titles. Sasha with the tag title and Ronda with the SmackDown Women's title at SummerSlam gives WWE something of a nice visual champion versus champion. It does, but once again, I don't feel that's the match we're getting at SummerSlam. I just don't. I feel like that's the match we get going forwards, but I don't think that's a SummerSlam match. We'll have to wait and see what actually happens. Megan says, no spoilers or surprises, but they are battering the hell out of each other. Nice. Sean says, Io comes up after Stand and Deliver. If she doesn't, she's gone. There have been tryout matches. The WWE know what they have. I think they'll get the call up. I think NXT needs to clear some people out. And if they're not going to call them up, they need to let them go. I do think that. And Sai says, where did Sonya go for the last few weeks? She's just been not needed on TV, essentially. She appeared briefly to get Natalya and Shayna Baszler into the tag match, but other than that, there's just been no real need for her. She doesn't have an active storyline, so they're not really messing around too much. Patrick says, I don't see what's so special about Austin Theory. He sucks. Well, the crowd agreed on that one. When it comes to Austin Theory, he's just a very classical, annoying heel. He knows how to be a bad guy. He's got that sort of the Miz element to him. And, hey, Vince likes him. It's not about being a good or bad wrestler. Everyone's a good wrestler nowadays. It's about being a character that people can get behind. And everyone knows an Austin Theory. Ooh. Ooh, no, I need to tweet that. That's good. That's good. That's good. Plus, to be fair, not much is happening right now. Boogs is just sort of going back and forth with Theory. I get it, Boogs. You're strong. Well done. Just going to tweet. Everybody knows an Austin Theory. If you don't know an Austin Theory, you might be The Austin Theory. Good old classic. Kuro says, Seth Rollins' mystery opponent scrap Daddy Adam Pearce. I wouldn't be against that. I wouldn't hate it. Someone 7 says, do you see big things for Austin Theory this year? Yeah, absolutely. I think he's already doing quite well considering he just came up. He just came up in the draft. He's been featured every week since. He's got quite a few big matches. He's competed with WWE champions, at least when Big E was a champion. He beat Finn Balor clean recently. There's a lot of good going on. He's got a WrestleMania match and a moderately high-profile one at that. Megan says Cesaro/Claudio is back on Twitch. He's just gone live. Now's the right time to take advantage of that. Of course, he'll definitely be trending now because there are rumours about him being involved in everything going on right now. That's the right time to do it. Sean says, since Marina is in AW now, is Roderick AW bound? There is no direct correlation. The correlation is the fact that the rest of the Undisputed Era is in AW. Roderick Strong is AW bound. I say that with confidence, and I've said that for a while. The Undisputed Era will reform in AEW as soon as they are able to. The Usos working pretty well with Austin Theory so far. It's just a really good combination of people. Does this mean Austin Theory is Bloodline? I mean, it's scary. It's a scary concept, but we are where we are. Simon is saying Ace Austin has just re-signed with Impact Wrestling today, according to PW Insider's Mike Johnson, Ace's Impact official social. Ace's and Impact's official social media accounts. Okay, are you sourcing 3 different sources there, Simon? There is still a lot of potential in Impact at the moment. They do need to sign a few more people. Slowly but surely they're getting there, but they do need a bit of a refresh. We are going into another commercial break. Looks like this match is going to go the distance. This might be the last match we get. Jermaine giving us an update saying Sonya Deville has been wrestling on house shows against Aaliyah and losing. So she's been putting over who comes next, essentially. Which is fair enough. It's a house show match. It's not canon. It makes sense. Megan says Austin Theory's next wrestling daddy is Roman then. There's going to be a tug of war between Roman and Vince over Austin Theory. It's going to be fun. Okay, so the Briscoes FTR match is only just finished. And Megan says, holy hell, that was amazing. Ooh. Patrick says, I'm paying more attention to Impact Wrestling because of the Iconics. To Neil Dashwood and Mickey James. Love what they're doing. They've definitely refreshed their women's division in a good way. They've added some very talented people and given them a home. Ooh. Ooh, Tom needs a sleep soon. Hey, it's only one more sleep till WrestleMania. It's only one more sleep till Mania. And now I've got Muppets Christmas Carol in my head. Of course, we have a potential 2-hour-long Hall of Fame show still to come. So, we may be streaming for a while. Kuro says, Seth Rollins' mystery opponent Bray Wyatt? No. That is not the case. Justin says, Omos is a betting favourite over Lashley and I just don't see Omos winning. I see Omos winning. I definitely see Omos winning. Patrick says, I don't take betting odds seriously. The betting odds are pretty damn reliable when it comes to WWE. Just a fun fact, when it comes to the Royal Rumble, the favourites have won every year for the past 12 years. Gotcha, Simon. Thank you for the update there. And Kuro says, I want the new shirts WWE released. You want a shirt that says, yes, I am an asshole? Because that's certainly one of the shirts that they've released. Okay, the Austin Theory tweet is doing quite well. Good start. Megan said, a lot of respect from the crowd and the teams toward each other. I'll probably have to check it out. The AEW style of tag match is not for me. just a little bit over choreographed for me personally. The WWE style isn't that much better, but it's at least a bit more aggressive, a bit more sloppy. Sloppiness is not a bad thing in tag team matches. There's a lot going on there. So maybe Ring of Honor is more to my taste. Patrick says, see anyone getting released after WrestleMania? Not really, not at the moment. I think the rosters right now are very small. Once you've had a couple of call-ups, that'll add a couple more people, but not to an extensive degree. You're right there, Megan. Megan's exploding in joy a little bit. Kuro clarifies they were meaning the 2 new Dusty Rhodes shirts. Well, now's definitely the time to push a Dusty Rhodes shirt. I like that Michael Cole is such like a proper supportive bro type moment for Pat McAfee. Just really supporting him, boosting him, patting him on the back, you know. It's good. It's lovely. I very much enjoy it. Moneymaker says, I'm worried Sasha and Naomi are losing on Sunday because they got the win tonight. We've been over this extensively so far when talking about it, so let me reiterate for you, Moneymaker. It means absolutely nothing that Sasha Banks won tonight. It doesn't mean she's going to lose. She is still the betting favourite. We'll see how it goes. Doesn't mean she's going to win either. But hey, a lot of people are really getting behind Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. They might be the right call now. Someone 7 says, who from NXT would you like to see on Raw and SmackDown? Io, Dakota, Raquel, definitely, Bron Breakker. And I think at the moment I'd probably leave it there. Simon says Impact's ratings on AXS TV bumped heavily this week. 150k this week, their biggest since January due to Mania week. Mania does good stuff for a lot of people. Austin Theory is getting the hell kicked out of him by Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura obviously on Pat McAfee's behalf. Shinsuke Nakamura sat there and waited to get a double super kick. He saw both Usos coming. That always frustrates me. Always frustrates me. Kuro says Lesnar's new shirt is cool too. Need a shirt that says country ass kicking. It says I work on a farm, but also says I break people. Finn Balor got the tag in. Balor and Theory basically one-on-one at this point, but already knocked to the outside. Balor's going for a dive. Balor's recovering a lot of momentum here. Like a lot of momentum. I still think it's possible Damian Priest gets involved at this point. But Balor is recovering a lot of momentum that he lost earlier from losing to Madcap Moss. This looks like it may be the end for Austin Theory. I can't imagine it's going to be. Finn Balor doesn't have a match at WrestleMania, but Theory does. Lots of distractions happening. Theory's up. His is finished. That's Balor's the second time getting pinned by Austin Theory, and that is a sexual cover. That is a Rhea Ripley style cover right there, and I gotta say, I found it quite exciting. That leaves us with 15 minutes of SmackDown. We still have some Pat McAfee coming. That was a nice little hop onto the apron. Michael Cole is calling McAfee back. Patrick says, I hope Shinsuke and Boogs win the tag team championships. Me too. I think it's time for a changing of the guard there. Something new, something fresh. Pat McAfee is stepping back. I'm excited for this match. Genuinely excited. Jermaine says, I wouldn't have used Sasha and Naomi tonight versus Zelina and Carmella. Really, there was no need. You could still have them all in a backstage segment. and use women like Aaliyah, Xia Li, Shotzi, and etc. They needed the star power tonight. They 100% needed the star power of Sasha Banks. Also, they've been trying very hard to push this one. Simon says, I saw a scary stat on Twitter. If Sasha and Naomi does very unfortunately lose, Sasha will share a 0-7 losing streak with Goldust, who has the worst Mania losing streak apparently. Someone's got to lose. Someone's got to lose. If that's the case, then that's the case. And Jermaine says, inside scoop on the betting lines. Whoever they have winning on Thursday and Friday is going to win the pay-per-view that weekend. Inside scoop? You're involved in betting, Jermaine. We have 15 minutes left and Baron Corbin is coming down to the ring. Is our last segment going to be Drew McIntyre beating the crap out of everyone? Oh, he's going to want his sword back, isn't he? Moneymaker says, someone of Sasha's star power shouldn't be going 0-7 at WrestleMania. I like Liv and Rhea, but they're not as over as Sasha and Naomi, and the most over team should win, plain and simple. The most over team should not win. That is not the case. Let's say, for example, that was the rule. The most over team should always win. The Usos would never lose the tag team championships. And we would never develop new tag teams and they would never get over. Bianca Belair was less over than Sasha Banks. And yet, winning at WrestleMania made her a star, gave her the star power to go ahead as she has. You don't make new stars if you just push the same people. And Sasha Banks has made a hell of a lot of stars. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think she's going to win. But if she doesn't, I'm not going to be annoyed. I'm not. Because she's happy. She's enjoying her time. And I think people care about this losing streak a lot more than she does. She doesn't care. She's having a great time. She loves wrestling. She doesn't care about winning or losing. She doesn't care about championships. She's having fun. I think that's the most important thing. Plain and simple. Sean says, I believe Drew wins. I don't think Corbin gets anything with a win. I think he gets a lot with a win. I think Drew gets nothing with a win. I think Corbin gets a hell of a lot because everyone's expecting Drew to win. Megan says, someone get that sword away from that utter pleb. Wow. Wow, Megan. Wow. Deep breath. Okay, calm down. Just, I think you've gone too far. Patrick says, I like Zelina Vega. Hope her and Carmella break up after WrestleMania and turn Vega face. For me, Zelina Vega is the most likely one to turn face because Carmella wears a mask. Masks are heelish. Just good old-fashioned heelish. As we know, when Kane lost his mask, he became an unstoppable babyface. So, you know how it goes. If anyone does have PW Torch VIP, I know some of you do because you listen to Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. I was featured in a show with Frank Pettiani called Then and Now, looking back at some older shows. We were looking at WrestleMania 15. And at some point, and I'm expecting this to be picked up at some point and for people to go nuts at me, referee Tim White was in the ring, and I referred to him as notably the father of Jay White. Now, this isn't true. This is just me poking fun and having a joke. But 100%, I'm expecting a whole lot of people to jump on this and, shall we say, hate me for it. Which is going to be fun. Megan says, up next, Minoru Suzuki versus Rhett Titus for the Ring of Honor World TV title. I don't see Minoru Suzuki winning that championship, but I also never see Minoru Suzuki losing because it's Minoru Suzuki. He's just the most dangerous man in the world. Simon says, Adam Cole joined AEW due to his friendship with the Elite. He wants to have fun there with them. Little from column A, little from column B. I think there's a lot of reasons he wanted to leave WWE that are independent of AEW. And I think there's a lot of reasons he joined AEW that are independent of the Elite. But I think he's going to have a great time there. And I think he's actively enjoying his time, so... That's the thing. With AEW now existing, there are more options with decent pay where you can go and just still enjoy your time. They are pushing the Hall of Fame. The Undertaker, as we know, is in the arena tonight. Kuro says, oh dear God, I have to hear Vince talk about Taker. You don't have to. You could not watch. You don't have to do anything. I feel I should make that clear. Right, so it is on WWE Network. I'll have to boot that up afterwards. Get that one ready. It is a very small class. It's going to be very long speeches. Our main event, in a show that doesn't feature Roman, doesn't feature Brock, is Happy Talk. Madcap Moss and Finn Balor have done double duty tonight. They've held the show together. Is the whole WWE Universe happy for him? Let him have his moment. Corbin, let him have his moment. You certainly did. That launched your career. I feel confident saying Baron Corbin is the most successful winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He took that as a platform and he made himself based on it. That was 6 years ago. He's been main roster for 6 years. Kuro says, Fightful did say half the show's segments, and the only segment that was wrong was they said Lesnar and Reigns set to appear. I would imagine what's going to happen is that everyone's going to forget that they said that. Megan says, no, he can sod off and leave the show for someone who knows what to do with it. Go back to being a hobo. He should go back to being a hobo. We're getting a recap again. We're getting a recap of Raw. Featuring Drew McIntyre beating up Madcap Moss. Kuro wants a singing sword, even though you know it's strictly taboo. I'll pick your battle on that one. I was thinking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit recently. Need to watch that again. I can't wait for the day when Who Framed Roger Rabbit goes to public access. We can do a watch along. It'll be great. And also ridiculous and terrible, but great. I'm sorry, did you just say your local WrestleMania sword? Mentioning the retirement of Kurt Angle is always a good move from Baron Corbin. He's slowly been elevated further and further up the card over the last 6 years. He at this point should be a legitimate world title contender, but the world champion is a heel. If someone like Seth was a champion, Corbin would be made for that feud. Megan says this is why all the SmackDown ones showed up on Raw. They needed to make room for all of the recaps. For the love of all the gods, someone please come and boot this pleb in the face. Once again, Megan, you need to calm down. That is really extreme, and I don't know if I can get away with saying that on YouTube. Gotta be careful. Simon says Sasha has already got some very special new blueprint rings for her gear and entrance on Sunday. She teased that on her Insta last week, with more to come. And Megan says, kudos for Corbin for making me this annoyed. Yeah, you hate the guy. Which shows how well he's doing. Oh. Okay, Corbin, you calm down. Wow. Uncalled for from Corbin there. Drew McIntyre is here. I don't know if he's going to talk much. I think he's just going to kick. And I don't blame him. Madcap Moss, what? No. Madcap Moss came out to intercept. It did not work. You're not the only one in the chat here who believes that, Kuro. Not the only one. Drew is armed. Is he going to parry the sword with a chair? Because I could get behind that. That was a good way of doing it. And now, Drew McIntyre is destroying the set, which will leave a nice red carpet, just nice and ready for the Hall of Fame. So we're basically all set for the Hall of Fame now. We've even got a little table in the middle. No, we don't. We don't have a little table in the middle. Megan says Drew looked more jacked, clothed, a very good use of the Scottish powers. Tank tops are designed for this purpose. And Sai says we need this Drew instead of happy smiley Drew. I agree. I completely agree. He should still be the Scottish psychopath for me. Moneymaker says Naomi hasn't been a champion since 2017, which is ridiculous. Long overdue for her to have a title again. That's why Sasha and Naomi should win. Also because they would be the first African-American women to be women tag champions. That's history. Yes, it is history. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to win. Just to be clear. We're getting a rundown of the impending WrestleMania card to close out the show. As go-homes go, this sucked. This was terrible. This was awful. I don't see any reason why anybody would want to watch this. But as they're warming up in that regard, let me just get the WWE Network up. Big pop for AJ Styles and Edge on the screen. So I'm just getting the WWE Network up and ready to press play. Yeah, they're currently showing Hall of Fame 2021. I forgot who was in that class. It's a strange one looking at it now. Oh god, they did a WrestleMania 38 set reveal with Dude Perfect. That's a thing. They did confirm the main event tomorrow night. Steve Austin. Moneymaker, if you're not a fan, watch something else. That simple. Simon says, win, lose or draw, I will always support Sasha. She will always be my fave wrestler. And that, I feel, is one of the biggest concerns I have with certain Sasha Banks fans. They will only actually support her if she's winning. Jermaine says, did we ever have matches at WrestleMania end in DQ? Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Plenty of them at WrestleMania 2000, I'll tell you that. So I said, I'm trying to look at that as a pre-show minus Sam Roberts rather than a SmackDown. Probably fair. Probably fair. So apparently Drew McIntyre's sword can make things explode. Curious. Larry says, I'm disappointed Drew McIntyre never even said they don't like the cold steel, Mr. McMahon. They don't like it up 'em. They do not like it up 'em. They don't like it up 'em. That is true. I've heard that said. At least the crowd know that they've got the Hall of Fame coming. So they're not going to be too disappointed. Right, let's close that. Move that over here. There is a minute left of Kane talking for the Hall of Fame 2021. And now I need to change my stream title once it loads. Of course, this was during the Thunderdome. I forgot about that. A Hall of Fame during the Thunderdome. What a world we live in. WWE Smackdown and Hall of Fame ceremony. Jobs are good. Guru says, no, Drew, he stabbed the red carpet with a sword. Drew's fired. Drew's in trouble. Drew's a bad boy. Megan says, Ring of Honor Pure Championship. Josh Woods defending against Wheeler Yuta is next. I've heard a lot of good things about Wheeler Yuta recently. Now, just to be clear, the Hall of Fame involves a lot of speeches. So I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to be talking with most of this. Quite often I'm going to be pausing to just listen to the speeches. I'm very interested in what The Undertaker has to say. Maybe he's going to announce himself as pro-Trump. I mean, we all know it, but... So quite often I'm going to be sitting quietly. To be honest, I may even turn my camera off for some of it. Take my headphones out and just enjoy. But certainly in between speeches, I'll be coming on, responding to the chat. We will be watching it together. I'm just going to try not to talk over anyone, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Megan says, I'm here for the fashion choices. I did enjoy the Hall of Fame last year. The show that we did where I dressed up in a suit and we just rated everybody's suits. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Kuro also says fashion time. Well, everyone's had plenty of time to dress up apart from Drew and Corbin. But Corbin would probably wear the exact same thing anyway. I want to see Seth's suit. I think we all agree on Seth's suit. Let me just kick off first. What do you mean it's a kickoff first? Are you telling me they're going to kill an hour? Because if so, I ain't staying up for this. I'm not watching a 1 hour kickoff for a Hall of Fame. Simon says the Becky interview with Ariel Helwani from on BT Sport airs next after SmackDown here in the UK. On BT Sport, that makes sense. Cora says, it said when it started, welcome to the WWE Hall of Fame kickoff. Megan says they have to set up the chairs on the stage. Aww. Aww. 15-minute kickoff. Let's see. Larry says, I'm off, not really interested in the Hall of Fame. Good night, everyone. You've all done very well. Thank you, Larry. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have fun. Nope. Okay. Nope. Guys, it's 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. They are still setting up, and they're going to do a 15-minute kickoff show to the Hall of Fame ceremony. I'm going to be honest. That's killed it for me. That is 100% killed it for me. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to say no thank you. I'm going to skip the Hall of Fame. I'm going to rest up, ready for the shows tomorrow. And I'm going to come back fresh and ready for WrestleMania. So I'm actually just going to call it that. I hope everyone understands why I'm doing this. I'm going to try and make sure I'm awake for the rest of WrestleMania weekend. I do apologise if people were very... I do apologise if people were really excited to see my thoughts on the Hall of Fame. I'll probably put a video out or something on that regard. But in the meantime, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm not here for a kickoff. I'm going to say thank you to everyone for joining me. But I'm going to leave it there. So thank you everyone for joining me. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. I'll see you tomorrow for NXT.